welcome to NSN Connect from National Skills Network, and we are into the 7th episode of the series called Reigniting the Skilling Landscape in India with Rajesh A R, CEO, LabourNet. In the previous episodes, we have touched upon many aspects of the skilling landscape that connects with education, employment, and entrepreneurship. We saw that industry and academia are two important players in the skilling ecosystem, and they have to come together to make skilling impactful. Now the question is, how do we make the world of education and training and the world of work come closer and meet and be in continuous touch? It is here that apprenticeships play a very important role. So in this episode, we are going to look at the world of work and the world of education and how work integrated learning through apprenticeships can be promoted in India. So how do we explore innovative ways of making apprenticeships simpler, acceptable and popular among various stakeholders, most importantly among youth, among the students, and also the industry coming forward and proactively to accept them and train them and prepare them as future workforce. Hi Rajesh, today I have a very interesting topic which I think we should look into very deeply, and this concerns connecting the world of education with the world of work. I think so many initiatives are coming up in the country where we are trying to sensitize students, school level students, parents, college level students and college administration to connect them with the world of work, which I think means a job, self-employment or anything to do with the industry. So do you think that this is happening the right way, or where are we on this, and how do we make this happen at a pace at which it is going to get us some real solid outcomes?
Okay. Thanks, Madhuri. So if we look at the ecosystem, the world of work, which you defined as full-time employment, self-employment, contract employment, he can be an entrepreneur in the value chain of the larger brands or the employment value chain. So those are the different kinds of employment which is available in the world of work. I mean, putting all the contract, perm and temp, everybody. In the world of education, it is defined in terms of the certification and the longevity of the programs where he or she is learning. There is a certificate program, there is an advanced certificate program, there is a diploma program, there was an advanced diploma program, there can be an associate degree program or a degree program. Okay. Now, what is happening is these two are in parallel tracks.
Okay.
Industry might not consider the world of education to be of any use to them because it is not work oriented. And academia may not find industry coming forward to give inputs or to give the things, or they might consider it as very short term, that is to get a job rather than to build a career. So these are two different thought worlds, which is very important, and both has its pluses and negatives. The intersection point of world of work and world of education, one of those intersection point is apprenticeship.
Right.
Okay, and this happens, I mean, you can have career counseling and a whole lot of other elements at the periphery, but apprenticeships integrates from a student perspective the world of work and world of education. Okay, so here after acquiring a particular certification at an academia, when a student enters a world of work, he still needs to get his basic understanding of academic principles and use it to the world of work. So if apprenticeship period is for 600 hours or 1000 hours, 25% of that particular time, he still needs to be in a theoretical or a classroom environment, and balance needs to be in the OJT or in the on-the-job kind of a training where he absorbs the learning, get back to the theoretical classes, understands the meaning, why he is doing a particular task or not, and then gets back to work. So this intersection point is something which is lacking today. This intersection point has become like a no man's land. Even though we talk apprenticeships in various forums and topics, it gets into a regulatory conversation. Rather than becoming a conversation from a student perspective, how can we integrate him to the world of work faster?
Yeah. That's true. I also attended few of these meetings and workshops. So I think I should just bring up 2 points here. When we talk about apprenticeships, like you said, it's always like, who should come first? Should the industry come first or the academia come first? And then the industry guys, whoever is there, represented by the HR people or the technical heads of the industry, then they say that, okay, why is it that we should consider apprenticeships, or why should we take in? So there is this kind of thing there. At one level, there is huge awareness. Like you have multinational manufacturing companies in India, very big companies like Bosch, Siemens, and others who are all German collaborations. For them, apprenticeship is pretty normal. Dual training is pretty normal. But when we are trying to adapt this to a typically Indian kind of a scenario, which could be medium enterprise or even small enterprise. If you also remember, Rajesh, there was this talk when apprenticeship NAPS was launched. There was a target, and I remember the minister saying that even if an MSME employs, rather hires one apprentice, the target is going to be met. This was about 5 or 6 years ago. But these things have remained like that, and we couldn't tie it up with the things which unfolded later. So what do you have to say on this?
There are 2-3, let's just look at this from 2 perspectives. You spoke about MSMEs, you spoke about smaller enterprises. I'm not using this in MSME. I think in our country, there would be around 6 lakh odd enterprises which is registered. Okay. And out of which 90-95% of them are in a small, may have paid up capital which is lesser than maybe 5 or 6%, 5 or 6 lakhs. Okay. Now, 5 or 6 crores. Now, the point which I was just trying to bring it about is, why are these smaller enterprises not ready to take an apprentice? Because it is considered as an additional burden. One, they will not be able to work like a skilled manpower or a semi-skilled manpower. Second, the element of there is no cost arbitrage. Okay, he or she comes at the same level of cost which the MSME could have hired a person from the informal sector at the same cost. So it is considered as a burden to train somebody. Added to this is the attrition. If I invest in training this person, he attrites and moves to the next garage or moves to the next particular company. How should he invest today in an MSME or in a small scale this thing? There is the investments of learning, investment of training is minimal. In NAPS or any particular apprenticeship promotion kind of thing calls out for investment into training.
Okay.
Where will he find that kind of an investment into the training? So there are multiple aspects which, when considering the cost as well as the utility of that particular resource, especially in a smaller kind of an enterprise, it doesn't become viable. But at the same time, as you move up the pyramid, from a when you go to medium-sized enterprises as well as to a large-sized enterprises, this entire value proposition actually becomes more and more viable. Even though on the face of it, it is because people still feel the cost arbitrage is not there. But if you technically look at the cost of capital one puts into buying machinery, in automating a particular machine, and if you take the real cost of an apprentice in a medium and larger brands, you will still get apprentice at 70% of minimum wages or 80% based on the apprenticeship norms. You will find taking an apprentice, investing into training, which is already there, existing infrastructure, is much, much more viable than importing a new machine or making a lot of lines automated. Okay. Because every year you are able to churn out new apprentices, and that can actually absorb a huge cost in manufacturing or in semi-manufacturing kind of units.
Okay, so this is an example from the manufacturing scenario. Yeah.
So so it is a way how we look at as look an apprentice. If you take the total cost of ownership, and if you work out the costs and benefits, you will find total cost of ownership of hiring apprentices according to the new norms 10%, which whatever is the norms which is available is much more viable, and they will see earnings.
This is, I think, a very convincing way of putting, through how you will have the ROI. If you look at the ROI aspect of apprenticeship, I think this is going to make sense quite a lot. But today, apprenticeships is also beyond these traditional trades. It is into optional trades. It is also into a lot of services sector. So things have changed. But one very welcome thing that's happening is also you have BWOC courses coming up. There are skill universities at the state level. Few skill universities are trying to promote a lot of this kind of learning, which perhaps you might put it partly under apprenticeship model, like say in BWOC. They have multiple entry exit, and they also have Industry Connect. Like one of the skill universities is trying to bring in the industry, people much earlier. In fact, even during the counseling, that's what we get to read and we get to watch. So there are things moving perhaps in the right direction, but all said and done, I think the main people, the HR team of a company, whether the company is small, medium, large, or a real big conglomerate, how sensitized are they? Because you interact with a lot of HR people. What is your opinion about creating this awareness among the HR fraternity? First of all, is it required? If yes, then how do we do it?
Okay, actually there is an interesting transition which is happening in the world of education, and I'll get that element in. The examples which you spoke about, Bachelor of Vocational, which is more work integrated, the growth of apprenticeships, even for certificate, diploma kind of thing. I'm not moving into the degree and above. You're finding that only 20% of actually the classroom and other things is actually happening in the world of in academia or academic institution. 80% is actually happening in the industry sites. It can be service sites, industry sites, and in any particular level. Which means at some point of time, I may not have the ready-made math with me, at some point of time in the future, it can be in 12 months, 36 months, or it cannot cross more than 48 months, you will find universities or educational institutions are having workers or people who are already working in either part-time or in gig as a student.
Okay.
This reversal of shift, today when we went to colleges, it was all freshers, right? It was 10 plus 2 plus 3. All of them were freshers who was taking a BTech or who was taking a bachelor's program, etc. Now you will find a trend which will get accelerated with NEPs and other things, that a working adult will be the people who is taking a bachelor's. Working adult will be the people who is taking a diploma. After a basic certification, which they would take in from an university or an academic institution, they will get back to work and everything will become work integrated, which means the pivot moves from academia to industry. It's for certain set of courses, which is not research oriented and which is the industry focused courses, which is nothing but apprenticeships on steroids, right? In terms of the various activities, what needs to happen, it gets accelerated. We can call it as a degree apprenticeships. Everything gets into different connotations, but keeping work as the core focus. And this is bound to happen, whether 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, it is bound to happen, this entire transition, which actually will leverage industry and academia if used in right way. Academia will get inputs of what is the new things happening in the industry, and industry will get new things because the certificate program will be more and more aligned to the needs of the industry.
Yeah, so we are going to see a lot of changes as you have just analyzed the current scenario, and NEP as a catalyst is going to definitely trigger off new ways of integrating work with education, which perhaps could be new for a lot of people in India to even understand how it happens. But I think the good part of it is that skilling and vocational training and everything connected with hands-on work, practical experience will definitely go on the aspirational side. So that's a very welcome thing to happen, right?
Yeah, and this everything will get accelerated. I mean, the ministry has defined certain incentive schemes for the corporates, whether it is like tax holidays. There may not be exact tax holidays, but in terms of reimbursement of by taking an apprenticeship trainee, etc. So there may be some bureaucratic issues to ensure that the free flow of money comes back to the industry faster, so that they see that kind of subsidy coming in. This, in the short run, is important for industry to get the machine moving, these smaller incentives. And after that, industry will find value in terms of an ROI, in terms of having the people as an apprenticeship, etc. Then it will take care of itself.
Okay. So let's hope the pace of change really picks up and it is consistent and it yields good results for the students and for the economy, because industry is a big player when it comes to apprenticeships in India. So Rajesh, you had given us quite a lot of inputs and insights into the way apprenticeships are implemented in India. We also looked at the format of work integrated education learning, which is quite new and yet to be accepted, I think, with the entire ecosystem, various stakeholders. Everybody is trying out something innovative, and there are schemes like NAPS and NATS, and there are a whole lot of organizations which work around it. Some say it is very complicated, people want incentives, there are compliances. Okay, now, if we need to really make apprenticeship work in India, not only in India, actually apprenticeships are posing a problem even in countries like US, where I recently saw that the government has come up with very interesting, innovative schemes to promote. So how do we handle the peculiar nature of India? Maybe you can give us 3 important, I would say, action items for us to work upon and see if we get the desired outcomes.
So I think the realization among the policymakers of saying that job is getting created in the MSME sector, and the MSME sector need to now be given the cover of apprenticeships and its SOPs is an important element in the new apprenticeship policy. There are 2 things in the new apprenticeship policy which enables this. One, the coming up with something called as third-party aggregators, right? TPAs, which act as an intermediary to reach out to these cluster-based MSMEs or to these MSMEs, create awareness about various apprenticeships and enabling them in a lot of paperwork which is required to take the benefits of apprenticeships. And second, of course, under the National Apprenticeship Promotion Schemes, the incentivization in the MSME sector, which is required for them to get the first level of objection up to ensure that they embrace apprenticeships. That's the second point. I think the third key element for repositioning apprenticeships is, of course, there is the issue of, even though we have seen the new versions coming up, there is still a lot of headway for creating and simplifying the framework of apprenticeships in India. With whether it is with the Ministry of HRD, whether it is with the Ministry of Skills and Entrepreneurship, the elements, like you just mentioned, RDATs of the world, or NATs or NAT and NEEM, and various elements and the various discrepancies in the statute, that is in the stipend and the way it is being looked at, it has to be simplified. But having said that, this is going to happen with 1,000 cuts. There is not going to be one strong beheading and saying, hey, from tomorrow it is going to happen. This is going to be a gentle sunrise.
Okay, so let's look forward to this sunrise and also some new thought and new action, most importantly. Thank you, Rajesh, for sharing these important action items with us.
Thanks, Madhuri.
The 3 action points shared by Rajesh on work integrated education and training through apprenticeship is something that is definitely going to initiate more discussion and more action in the coming months. And we would be very happy to hear from you if you are a part of the apprenticeship system, if you are playing an important role in promoting apprenticeship or engaging apprentices, whether you are from the industry or from the HR team or from the academia. It would be nice to hear from you about your experiences and also the challenges that you faced in implementing such programs. Thank you so much for being a part of this episode. We look forward to your presence and your participation in the coming episode as well.